But I'm really looking forward to these playoffs. I think this is going to be a more deep competitive playoffs because the West also is a little bit deeper than it was last year.
I want to talk about just in general how competitive the league is going to be because people are talking about the tanking stuff. There's only like 3 or 4 teams that I actively believe are going to like try to be bad next season. In the West, Thunder, Spurs, Nuggets, Rockets, Lakers, Timberwolves, Suns, Warriors, Blazers. Clippers don't have their own picks, so there's no incentive for them to be bad. So those top 10 teams, none of them are going to really try to be bad. I think the Grizzlies are probably going to try to tank. They're dealing everybody away. The Mavericks with Cooper Flag and probably a top pick this year, I don't think they're going to actively try to be bad. Plus Kyrie coming back, I think they could be a pretty solid team next season. The Jazz aren't going to try to. The Pelicans apparently think they're a playoff team, so we'll see on them. But, you know, maybe they try to be bad. So, like, let's say them and the Grizzlies for sure, and then the Kings will absolutely be. So that's like 3 teams in the Western Conference. But out East, Pistons, Knicks, Celtics, Cavs, Raptors, Sixers, Magic, Heat, Hawks, like kind of maybe, but I don't think they will with Jalen Johnson. I don't think they're not going to like actively try to be bad.
And the Hornets too.
Yeah, the Hornets
the
are
go-to
back.
shit team in the East is no longer shit.
Exactly. The Wizards have actively made moves. The Pacers are obviously going to be back. We'll see what happens with like the Bucks and Giannis, but for sure, I can say the Bulls are going to try to be bad, you know, for your sake. I hope so. And then the Brooklyn Nets, they don't have their own pick next year, so they might make some moves. They might try to take some swings. There's only like a few teams that are going to like actively try to be bad next season.
Yeah,
it's going to be a deep
I did
NBA.
not understand the pearl clutching about the tanking stuff because like this is really what set that off. We've had so many years where teams are way more egregiously tanking. And like this year, it's such a good draft class. It's just going to lead to more teams doing that.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. And I really think there are just so many more issues with the games before tanking because it's like whether or not the Jazz win 40 games or 20, unless you're you and me who do this for a job, who is watching the Jazz regardless? Who is tuning in for those games, whether they are trying to be competitive with mediocre talent or not? I just don't think it actually impacts the viewer experience more often than not, because 9 times out of 10, a team that is tanking is a team that was otherwise likely going to be irrelevant anyway.
Yeah, unless you're like a fan of the Jazz, like, you know, a lot of people listening to this are probably more diehard fans than like casual fans. Casual fans are going to watch like the 3 best teams in the NBA and like nationally televised games. They're not going to lock in like that. And like, I mean, what the Jazz play Jaren Jackson Jr. for the rest of the season. What, they've got 17 wins right now. What are they going to end up with? 30 maybe? They're not going to make the play-in even. Like, it does nothing for them. And also, we continue to talk about today's NBA having like ligament injuries and stuff like that. It just doesn't make sense to risk it. Now, they are doing it egregiously by playing those guys for the first 3 quarters and then benching everybody in the 4th. Like, I understand why people are annoyed that it's like that blatant and in your face, but at the same time, like, I don't really care because I think it's going to set them up. They get a top pick and they made the trade for Jaren. Like, they're actively trying to be better in the first place. It's not like we had years where teams were just trading everybody away. You know, this is the beginning of like the Sam Hinkie type stuff. And for a few years after that, like teams are like, let's just trade away literally everybody and start from scratch and be absolutely terrible. Teams are making upgrades like the Wizards and Jazz. Sure, they want to get a top pick this year because they've already sunk all this time into they're just bad basketball teams. It's not like they've tried to be bad up until this point. They're just bad teams. And now they've made additions and they're like, okay, let's grab 1 top pick and be competitive next year. And I think ultimately like this type of stuff is just going to make the league so much better next season, more competitive. So that's basically the short on my whole tanking thing. I also thought it was like, people are saying this is the worst it's ever been. It's just not. It's not even close to the worst it's ever been.
People have short memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I would argue that foul baiting and the leniency on travels and the injury issues with the NBA schedule being what it is, those are way bigger issues than tanking is. I really just have never bought into the notion that tanking is some major problem with the NBA.
Yeah.
And I think also it's like, what do you want them to do? Because changing the lottery odds was basically the most that could be done, because otherwise you're talking about upheaving and fundamentally changing everything about how the draft works. And if that's what your proposition is, then go for it, dude. But like, we're not getting there. That's not going to happen. We're not going to change it to some system of like, I've seen this proposed. Let's have all of the playoff teams or all of the non-playoff teams have their own like single elimination playoff to compete for the number one picks. Like, you guys, first of all, players don't care about competing for the top pick 9 times out of 10 because they're on a bad team that views them as expendable more likely than not. So it doesn't mean dick to them. Like, it's stupid. Like, unless you want to fundamentally upheave the entire system, you cannot get around the fact that it is better to be a 20-something win team and have a chance at landing a generational star than it is to be a 30-something win team and miss the playoffs and get the 12th pick. Like, you can't change that. It's just the way that it is. Sucks to suck, but changing the lottery odds was really the only thing that could be done, and I don't think we should change them to any larger extreme than what they already are.
Yeah, I mean, the tournament thing, that's been, people make all these suggestions. I've always thought that's the stupidest thing ever. Like, the Wolves right now are the 6th seed. Let's say they fall down 1 game to be the 7th seed, because that's not unrealistic. They could do that. They're super inconsistent. And then suddenly, like, Ant tweaks something and they lose a couple games and now they're in this tournament. And now it's like the Wolves are going to destroy everybody and grab Darren Peterson.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you ensure, like, how are the Sacramento Kings possibly going to win this tournament? Who, like, they need, if there's a team that needs like a top pick, it's them. Credit to the Kings. They've played guys. They just suck. They're just straight up terrible.
Yeah.
Like, they need a top pick. That would just doom them forever. We would never see the Kings escape the 14th, 15th spot in the Western Conference ever again. They've lost 13 straight games right now as I'm talking to you. Like, they're 12-43. It's just never made any sense. Like, I've seen people, say like, oh, you can only be in the lottery for a couple of years. What happens if a team like is, just straight up bad? Like, they're grabbing pieces, they're trying to rebuild, but they're bad. And then you just punish them. Like it's not like every team that is in the lottery for 3-4 years is just straight up tanking. They might just be bad. So nothing has ever made sense to me in terms of trying to fix that situation. I think it's fine as it is. Tanking is not this big issue people make it out to be. It's like the boogeyman for some reason. And it's annoying when everybody's like, oh my gosh, we've got to stop this tanking. Like, the Wizards aren't playing Anthony Davis. I'm like, 80 is made of glass. Why would they play him when they have 14 wins and 38 losses? It makes no sense. Anyways, that's my little rant to end off the podcast.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense to me because like there are 30 NBA teams. If 10 of them are tanking, which there isn't, but if 10 of them are tanking, just watch the other 20 teams. Like, it's really not that hard. Most of the time, like, there has to be bad teams. That's how it works. You can have years where some of the middle-ish teams, the kind of bad but not terrible teams, are like more competitive than they are all of the time. Mm-hmm. But like, at the end of the day, there are going to be 4 or 5 teams that win sub 30 games every single season. And like, whether that is intentional or not doesn't really change much about the fact that there are always going to be teams that are that bad.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me to get so hung up on the manner. And the other thing is like, you cannot like it, but like there's like this moralizing around tanking in a way. Like, it goes against the competitive spirit. And it's like, actually, I think choosing to lose so that you can win way more in the future is the more competitive move than trying to win 35 to 40 games every single year. I would argue that the Bulls, by blowing it up at this deadline, did more to be competitive in the future than they are than being a 40-win team would do right now. Like, I think it is just the short-term idea of like intentionally losing. I get how that's not competitive, quote unquote, but like in the long-term view, it is absolutely the competitive decision. Sitting on your hands is the not competitive decision.
It's cowardly, and the Bulls have upgraded from
straight up.
They've upgraded from cowards to cowards with 1 million second-round picks.